Hey guys, what's going on? This is Atarva here, and in this video we are going to talk about Next.js server actions. So Next.js 14 was recently announced, and a part of that was getting Next.js server action into a stable mode. So now you can use it without the experimental tag. But what are server actions basically? It allows you to perform server-side mutations inside your React component. So it's basically running server-side database calls or some kind of other mutations inside your React component in a function. And a lot of people have mixed reactions on it. Some people think that it's a very bad idea. Some people think that it's going back to the PHP days. Some think that it's a very good idea. What I think is that if you don't like it, you don't use it. Personally, I don't think I would ever use it until people show real world use case about it. But I simply like to separate my API and the app, because then I can use that API for a different client, for example, a mobile application or something. But yeah, different people have different opinions, and I respect all of those opinions. So yeah, in this video, we're going to look at server actions. We are going to see how those work, and we are going to see how you can use it. So yeah, let's get started. So to get started, let's create our Next.js application first. So pnpx, create next app. The name should not be next.auth. It should be, I think it should be next server actions. It took me a lot of time to just guess the name. So yeah, we are going to use TypeScript. We are going to use ESLint. Let's just leave it all to default, because let's just use SRC. We are also going to use app router, because next server actions only work on the app router. We are not going to go customize the default import alias. Let's leave it to default. And let's wait for this to complete, and I'll be back when this is done. Okay, now we can do code dot, and this time also let's run pnpm run dev. Let's get this to full screen. And now, in order to perform some kind of mutation, I think it's the best idea to have some kind of database or something, because the main idea of using server actions is that you can use database calls within a function inside your React component. But we cannot waste a lot of time in creating a server for just a tutorial application. So in this video, we are just going to do some API calls. And to do that, we are going to have a very test database here. So we are just going to have a JSON file acting as a database. So this is going to have some data. You can modify it if you want to, but this is the initial data we want to have. Now, how will this serve as a database? So there is a package called as JSON server. So let me go here and let's install pnpm IG. Yeah, so we are installing JSON server as a global package. I already have it installed, so it will just show that it changed nothing, but ignore the deprecated dependencies. We are just going to use this for testing anyways. Now what you can do is we can provide it the db.json file, and it will start serving it as a database. So we can just do JSON server. We can do watch db.json, and we can provide a port of 5555, because by default it uses port 3000 and Next.js also uses port 3000. So let's click enter. What is the cool thing about JSON server is that when you add something, when you do some mutation like adding a post or something, it will reflect back in the JSON file. So it persists all the data even after you kill the server. So yeah, that's the cool thing. But if you have a database, feel free to use that. It's not really needed for this tutorial. So let's go to page.tsx. We are following the app router. So this is going to be the index route, and this is a server component. To get started, I want to fetch all of the data we have in our server. So we are going to do a fetch call, but before that, I want to just clean these things, and I just want to have a div. For now, I think I need some basic styles. So yeah, I'll just copy this. And let's now work on getting the data. Now, since this is an server function, server component, we can have an async here. So async function, and because server components don't have use effects or other hooks like that, we can just fetch data right here. So now we will be fetching our data. So before fetching our data, I think it's the best idea to create the type for our post. So type post is equal to I think it's ID and content. So ID should be string, no, ID should be number, content should be string. Yeah, that's all. And now we can just fetch, we can do const posts, and this will be the type of post, except it's an array. Yeah, thank you GitHub Copilot. And for the then block, we need to have the JSON back. So we are just going to do response and response.json, and this will give us back the JSON. Now what's important is that this will be cached. So let's save this. We also need to render this, so let's do that right now. So we can just open curly braces here. We can do posts.map, and for each post I want to render a div. We don't need to give it a styling because this is just a test application, and we are just going to have post.content. Now if we go back to our browser, let's go to localhost 3000. Okay, it's taking a lot of time, which is little concerning, but I'll take that. Okay. Oh yeah, it's oh yeah, we messed up the port. This should be 5555. That's why it's getting the JSON error, because it's actually returning the file and it should not be like that. So I think this should work. Let's save and let's go back to our browser. You know what, I want to get this browser to a different window so that managing everything is easier. It says post.map is not a function. Okay, Copilot, you are fired. I simply should not have used Copilot at this point, I'm thinking. But yeah, I just wasted a lot of time and I'm sorry for that. But yeah, you can see the hello world here. If we go back to the JSON file, we can just do changes here. And so I'll just copy this object and I'll add another one here and just give this an ID of 2. Let's call this by world. Let's go back. Let's refresh. And you will see that it doesn't update here, but our database has been updated. And how do I know the database has been updated? It says that db.json was changed and it did reload it. So why did it not change in the app? That's because Next.js server components by default use caching. So we need to disable caching here. So let's do this. So in the second parameter, we can have an object which can have a cache of no cache. So this just said that, hey, I don't allow caches here. You simply need to reload this page. I mean, you simply need to fetch this API without being lazy. So yeah, let's go back here. Now you see instantly it says by world. So yeah, we did that, but now we haven't yet used server components. So how do we do that? So let's have a form here. I'll quickly grab the form. I don't think we should waste a lot of time creating that. This is the form. Let's not worry about this function right now. We just have a input field. We have a submit button, and remember that this is a traditional form. You have an action attribute which links to a function which we are about to create. So let's just create that function. So const add post is equal to async, and this should be an empty function for now. But if you look at this, it takes an action, and we have a submit button. So this is a lot like PHP, where you click submit and the page reloads and the data is sent to API, except we are sending it to our function here. So let's go back on our browser, and we already have an error. It says that functions cannot be passed to client components unless you expose it by marking it as use server. Now what the error means is that form is an client component. It appears on the screen and it is served to the client. We cannot just add post, we can just add a function here and call it a day. this needs to be a server function. By default it's not. So you need to you cannot just serve this function to the client if this is a server function, right? So to make it a server function, more like a server action, you need to have a use server like this, use server directive. Now as soon as you have this, the error is gone, and that's because now this function runs on server, and as soon as you have the use server here, Next.js knows that this is a server action, and it automatically creates an action for this. And what happens behind the scene is an API request. We will look at that. Let's go here, let's open this and let's go to network tab. Now if we click on submit, you will see that there is a network request which goes to localhost 3000, which is a post request, and you can see there is a payload. It has an action ID here. So what does that action ID mean? That means the Next.js set up an action for us, and now it's trying to call that action. So it automatically makes an API request, so you don't need to do a lot of things. Now for now only action ID is passed, and the post is empty because if you just put anything here and submit, you will have another one, and you will have the post here. So now we need to handle how do we save that in the database. Now that we already know that the function, anything inside the function is running on the server, you can simply do any database operations here without any fear. Like this function will never be served to the client. But since we are using an API, we just need to use a fetch request. So we are going to do await fetch. This is going to be, it should be thank you for the correct URL this time. And let's see, yeah, method post headers, we need application JSON, yes. Yeah, we need the correct body, except we need to have form data. So when you stumble across like gathering user input from here, you can just have it as a parameter here. So we can just have an E, and that will be of the type of form data. And now you can have all of the form data. So we have a name here. So for the input, we have a name of post. So you can grab post here by doing const post is equal to e.get post. Now you will have the value of that input field in this variable. Now you can just have this here. Yeah, I think that's it. Oh yeah, I need to have a bracket. Now we don't need to get the response and stuff. We just know that it's going to add it. And yeah, now we just call it a day. That's it. If we go back to a browser, and now let's try to add something. Now let's add another post. Let's submit this, and you will see that there is nothing here. But if you reload this page, there's nothing here still, and that's a little concerning. That's because I was fooled by GitHub Copilot. So the problem was that we need to have content here, because in that file the key is content. So we need to have the content here, and then we are accepting the form value, and now this should work, I promise. So let's do another post. Let's submit this. We don't have it here, but if we refresh, we have another post, and this should also reflect in the JSON file. So yeah, it says another post. Perfect. But now this is an issue, right? It technically works just like PHP. It's just the fact that we haven't added refresh to this yet. Else you could just refresh this page and you will have the another post here. But how does it make it little different from PHP? Like, it's just going to add a lot of headache to you rather than it helping you. So there is a way we can trigger the refresh of this fetch call, which is by using tags. So we can just assign a tag here. So we can just say next, and this is an object, and here we can have different things. So we're going to have tags, and we can assign it a tag just like posts. And now we can go here, and after we have added this, we can just do revalidate tag, and we can just pass in post. So everything you have, you can just revalidate tags here. You can have multiple tags here if you want, and whichever tags you pass in, these fetch requests will be made again, and without a page refresh you will see all the change data. So now if we say another post 2 and submit, you should see it right here. The entire page didn't reload, but only just this data was changed. So I think this is a bit better than PHP. It's like having the React ecosystem plus having the benefits of using PHP, and I think there are some developers who would like something like this. I have worked with PHP myself, and I think that this would be a good feature, but I don't know if I want to go back to those days. So yeah, instead of, also, if you have a lot of different things here that you need to reload, instead of just tags, instead of just passing like 10 functions for the revalidate tag, you can just do let's comment this one now. You can just do revalidate path, and you can also just pass in the current path. So we are on the index page. So now if you do another post 3 and submit it, it will do it with us. So it's just going to refresh all of those fetch calls, and yeah, that's how it works. But if you have a lot of things, it's just going to cause a utter chaos. So I think that tags should work. You can have multiple different tags, like profile tag, you can have post, you can have user, you can have comments, you can have likes, and a lot of different stuff. So it's very manageable this way, I think so. So yeah, that's it for this video. If you find value in this video, make sure you click the like button, leave a comment, and press the subscribe button as well. Subscribing is free, it supports the channel, and it gives it a boost in the algorithm. So I would really appreciate if you click the subscribe button if this video really helped you. And what do you think about server actions? I think there is a lot of controversy around it, mostly on Twitter, where I just keep scrolling and I just see a lot of different memes. People are mocking it by creating like use assembly, use C, or use binary even, and trying to make fun of it. I think all fun and games are fine, but I think that it's a good feature to have. It's just that if you don't want to use it, you always have a choice. You can always go back to pages router, and I still think that pages router is my thing. I still don't think that app router is really my thing anymore. So I don't know, people have different opinions, and it's fine. What do you think? And I want to hear your opinion, so just leave them in the comments below. So yeah, that's it for this video. I'll see you guys in the next one. As always, bye.